On behalf of National Center for the Performing Arts and Granthali, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you to this special event, Global Lekika. Please give a big round of applause to Global Lekika. Today, we come together to celebrate the power of words, the richness of language, and the talk about literature that transcends cultural, local, and global boundaries. As we all know, the world of literature knows no boundaries. And through the voices of our exceptional women writers, a big round of applause to women writers who all are sitting in the front row, we are reminded of the importance of expressing ourselves, sharing our stories, and exploring new perspectives. Local Lekika brings together the best of both worlds, global as local. Voices are rooted in their cultural experiences while having the power to touch hearts far and wide. I would like to express my gratitude to all the writers, speakers, and participants who have joined us today. Your contributions enrich our literary landscape, and your courage to bring out varied perspectives is something we all deeply appreciate. As we embark on this wonderful journey, today I encourage everyone to engage, reflect, and connect through the power of words. Together, let us continue to celebrate the spirit of literature that unites us not just as an individual, but as a global community. Today we have a very exciting lineup of events planned for you. We'll start off with a literature talk, followed by an engaging panel discussion, audio-visual presentation, then a much-anticipated book release of Dr. Sanjeevani Kher ma'am, and finally a felicitation ceremony. And yes, of course, there will be a tea break, perfect for networking and some delightful chit-chat. So thank you all for being here, and I hope you enjoy the event. A humble request to all of you to keep the mobile phones on silent mode. आणि जाता जाता माझे मनोगत मी इंग्लिशमध्ये मांडले. आजचा हा संवाद बहुभाषी आहे, त्यामुळे मराठी, हिंदी, इंग्लिश अशा सर्वच भाषांचा आनंद आपण या कार्यक्रमातून घेऊया. आणि हे मला डॉक्टर निर्मोही फडके मॅमनी लिहून दिलेले आहे. सो थँक्यू सो मच अँड एन्जॉय द इव्हेंट. थँक्यू.
थँक्यू सुजाता. तिच्या गोड व्यक्तिमत्वाप्रमाणेच तिने गोड शब्द मांडले आपल्यासमोर. ग्रंथाली प्रकाशनाचे विश्वस्त श्रीयुत सुदेश हिंगलासपुरकर यांना मी विनंती करते की त्यांनी त्यांच्या नेहमीच्या खुमासदार शैलीत ग्रंथालीतर्फे आपलं प्रास्ताविक मांडावं.
रसिको नमस्कार. आपणा सर्वांचं ग्रंथालीतर्फे स्वागत. ग्रंथालीचे सुवर्णमहोत्सवी वर्षाची सुरुवात 4 एप्रिल 2024ला NCPAमध्येच गंधर्वांचे देणे हे पुस्तक प्रकाशित करून झाली. आणि आता ग्रंथालीने नुकताच आपला सुवर्णमहोत्सवी वाचक दिन ठाण्यामध्ये साजरा केला. करोनाच्या काळात ग्रंथालीने आपले ग्रंथाली वॉच हे यूट्यूब चॅनल सुरू केले. या चॅनलवरून साहित्याच्या पारावर, ग्लोबल साहित्य सफर, लोकल लेखिका असे 10 कार्यक्रम सुरू केले. यातील लोकल लेखिका या कार्यक्रमाचे 50 भाग पूर्ण झाले आहेत. याचे पुस्तक लोकल लेखिका व त्यातील एका भागाचे इंग्रजीतले सादरीकरण आज आपण सर्वांसाठी खुले करत आहोत. रसिक वाचकांना आंतरराष्ट्रीय व भारतीय लेखकांच्या व्यक्तिमत्व आणि साहित्याची ओळख ज्येष्ठ पत्रकार व लेखिका संजीवनी खेर करून देतात. ज्या प्रकारे आपण फिल्म सोसायटीने तुम्हाला चांगले सिनेमे कुठले हे सगळ्यांना आपल्याला सांगितलं आणि ते आपण फिल्म बघायला लागलो. कारण आधीच्या काळात काही ॲमेझॉन नव्हतं किंवा इतर प्लॅटफॉर्म सिनेमा कुठे तुम्हाला बघायला मिळेल असं काही नव्हतं. तर ज्या फिल्म सोसायटी महाराष्ट्रातल्या होत्या त्या इथे सिनेमा मागवत आणि ते तुम्ही सिनेमा बघत. तशाच प्रकारचं आता ग्रामीण भागातली जी मुलं शिकलेली आहेत त्यांना या साहित्याची ओळख व्हावी म्हणून आम्ही दोन्ही कार्यक्रम सुरू केले होते. 27-28 फेब्रुवारी आणि 1 मार्च रोजी ग्रंथाली जी जन्मशताब्दीची वर्ष आहेत यावर्षी जयवंत दळवी, विद्याधर पुंडलिक, गंगाधर गाडगीळ यांचा 3 दिवसाचा महोत्सव आम्ही पार्ल्याला दीनानाथ नाट्यगृहात करणार आहोत. हा कार्यक्रम व आजचा कार्यक्रम जो आम्ही करत आहोत त्याला मराठी भाषा विभाग, मुंबई महानगरपालिका, ग्रंथाली व त्यांचे कुटुंबीय यांच्या सगळ्यांच्या सहकार्यामुळे आम्हाला तो करता येणार आहे. या कार्यक्रमालाही तुम्हाला सगळ्यांना आग्रहाचं निमंत्रण आहे. सुवर्णमहोत्सवाची जी सांगता आहे ती जशी आपण इथे सुरुवात केली तशी पुण्यामध्ये 4 एप्रिल 2025ला गंधर्वांचे देणे या पुस्तकाच्या निमित्ताने होईल. आणि 3 जणांचा जो आपण इथे महोत्सव करतो तसाच महोत्सव आपण पुण्यातही करणार आहोत. एवढं बोलून मी माझं म्हणू थांबवतो. धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद सुदेश सर. या कार्यक्रमाचा प्रारंभ होतोय एका सर्जनशील व्यक्तिमत्वाच्या मुलाखतीनं. आज आपल्याकडे विशेष निमंत्रित आहेत मल्याळम भाषेतल्या सुप्रसिद्ध साहित्यिक डॉक्टर मानसी आणि मुलाखतकार डॉक्टर दिव्या रवींद्रनाथ. आपण सर्वजण त्यांचं टाळ्यांच्या गजरात स्वागत करूया आणि मी विनंती करते की डॉक्टर मानसी आणि डॉक्टर दिव्या रवींद्रनाथ यांनी व्यासपीठावर यावं. साहित्यिक किंवा कलाकार यांना कोणतीही सीमा मर्यादा बांधून ठेवू शकत नाही. ग्रंथाली आणि NCPA या आयोजकांच्या विनंतीला मान देऊन डॉक्टर मानसी इतक्या दूरवरून या सर्व सीमा ओलांडून इकडे मुंबईत आल्या. NCPAच्या ग्रंथालय प्रमुख डॉक्टर सुजाता जाधव आणि ग्रंथाली प्रकाशनाचे विश्वस्त सुदेश हिंगलासपूरकर यांना मी विनंती करते की त्यांनी डॉक्टर मानसी यांचं स्वागत आणि सत्कार करावा. धन्यवाद. मित्रहो, मुलाखत तेव्हाच यशस्वी ठरते जेव्हा मुलाखतकार स्वतःही तितकाच गुणवंत असतो. आजच्या आपल्या खास पाहुण्या डॉक्टर मानसी यांना बोलतं करण्यासाठी आयोजकांच्या विनंतीला मान देऊन बंगलोरहून आल्या आहेत डॉक्टर दिव्या रवींद्रनाथ. डॉक्टर दिव्या ह्या नव्या लिहित्या पिढीच्या प्रतिनिधी आहेत. वॉशिंग्टन युनिव्हर्सिटीमधून सोशल वर्क विषयात PhD मिळवलेल्या डॉक्टर दिव्या यांनी बंगलोरच्या नॅशनल लॉ स्कूल ऑफ इंडिया या संस्थेतून एन्व्हायरमेंटल लॉ या विषयात डिप्लोमाही मिळवला आहे. तसेच इंग्लिश साहित्यात BA आणि सोशल वर्क या विषयात MA ह्या पदव्या त्यांनी प्राप्त केल्या आहेत. त्या सध्या इंडियन इन्स्टिट्यूट फॉर ह्युमन सेटलमेंट या संस्थेत स्कूल ऑफ ह्युमन डेव्हलपमेंट अंतर्गत सिनियर कन्सल्टंट म्हणून काम पाहत आहेत. सोशल वर्क क्षेत्रात अंतर्गत त्यांनी अनेक प्रोजेक्ट, अनेक उपक्रम राबवले आहेत. घराबाहेर कार्यरत असणाऱ्या स्त्रिया तसेच गृहिणी असणाऱ्या अशा अनेक पातळीवरच्या महिला वर्गांसाठी त्यांनी काम केलं आहे. नव्या पिढीतल्या दमदार लेखिका आणि अनुवादक म्हणूनही त्या प्रसिद्ध आहेत. मित्रहो, साहित्य आणि समाज अशा दोन क्षेत्रांमध्ये कार्यरत राहून आपलं स्थान निर्माण केलेल्या सर्जनशील व्यक्तिमत्वांमधला सुसंवाद अनुभवण्यासाठी आपण सर्वच उत्सुक आहोत. तेव्हा आपला वेळ अधिक न दवडता मी डॉक्टर दिव्या रवींद्रनाथ यांच्याकडे मुलाखत कार्यक्रमाची सूत्र सुपूर्द करते.
Good evening, everybody. Absolute pleasure to be here. I am a lover of literature, so it's really great to be here, and also as a feminist researcher to have the opportunity to talk to Manasi ma'am today. I'd like to begin with a very brief introduction to Manasi ma'am. She has been one of Malayalam's finest anti-patriarchal voices reaching back to the 1960s. Her short stories have earned her a wide readership, and their collections have won several literary prizes, including the prestigious Kerala Sahitya Academy Award. She regularly contributes short stories, articles, and poems to mainstream periodicals, and the feature film, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Punarva Divasam, based on one of her short stories, won the state award for the best story. All of her works have been translated into Marathi, Tamil, Kannada, English, and Hindi. And she has also translated plays written by Shanta Gokhale and Ramunathan. She lives in Mumbai. She has lived in Mumbai for very long and has worked as a freelance copywriter for ad agencies. Today she is back in Kerala, but I'm looking forward to a very engaging conversation. We've already spoken before, and I promise you it's going to be a very delightful evening. Let me start by asking you a little bit about your childhood. All feminist writing starts from somewhere, some experiences. So if you could tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what kind of a family was it?
Thank you. Namaskar to all. Actually, I was born in a feudal family in Kerala. So, and my family members were all very educated, and they were all interested in literature. So, in those days, such families, such feudal families had a lot of leisure, as you know. So, in the evening, there is some sort of a literary gathering among the family members, and we will play chess, and we will have this sort of an andakshari thing. It's called an akshara shloka. But in that competition, only the poetry can be recited. So my mother, my uncles, I am coming from a matrilineal family. So again, that's another maternal home. So they were all engaging, they were all reciting poetry and all. So as a child, we were also encouraged to participate in that. So in that process, I got at a very young age, I got an exposure of good Malayalam poetry, because if I recite a poem, then immediately, if it is a new poem, the uncle will ask, you please tell me the meaning. So I had a sort of a very good exposure to Malayalam poetry, and my mother was a voracious reader. She also knew Sanskrit, so she initiated me in literature. Actually, we were asked to read all this child literature. If you don't, then we will get trashed, actually. So that sort of an atmosphere was there. So I got an exposure. So I don't know why, but the literature got inculcated in me.
So I'm sure the audience wants to know, how does the word feudal and matrilineal come in the same sentence? So we put that confusion out. So if you could just briefly, I know it's very difficult to explain it briefly, but just briefly for the audience, so that then we could pick it up from there and talk about literature.
So feudal in the sense, sort of a well-off family. We were landowners, my uncles and father and all. A lot of land will be ours. So that's a feudal system. It's sort of a well-off family, rich, I can say that way. So, but that has nothing to do with the matrilineal. In matrilineal system, it can be poor and it can be rich also. Matrilineal system is very different from patriarchal system. Patriarchal system, maybe that you are all introduced to patriarchal system, you know much about patriarchal system. But matrilineal system is that the lineage is through women and the ladies. For example, I'll tell you, if we don't have a girl at home, it is considered to be very bad. When I was having 2 children, and I was just telling Divya that my second son was born, and I called up my mom to say, so mom was very unhappy, and she was asking me that, what are you going to do? So, what are you going to do means what? अरे अपने घर में दिया जलाने के लिए कोई लड़की नहीं चाहिए. Yeah, that was the question, and that is a usual question from every matrilineal family. And there, we don't have dowry traditionally. Now there is no matrilineal system legally, but we didn't have any dowry because the girl had the property rights. So we never go to in-laws' house and stay there and ask this bahu कि कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, सास बहू की प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, उधर जाती ही नहीं है तो माँ इधर आती भी नहीं है, तो फिर there's no problem. And the husbands usually visit, they don't stay in the wife's house. They only visit, in that sense, if I can say so, their only job is to procreate. So, why I'll tell you that? The property belongs to the women in the matrilineal system, and without the consent of the woman, it cannot be sold. So it gives a little, comparatively, a slightly higher degree of freedom and safety for women. We are never thrown out of the house. So, as in patriarchal system. Then also this patriarchal system, you all know that the women after marriage go to the in-laws house without any property, without any right, without any identity, without any name, all sort of things. But in the matrilineal, it is not so. So that gives a sort of safety net for the women, and I feel that it worked well for the women. From such a family, I am coming. That is matrilineal.
Thank you for setting the stage for that. But then that makes me want to ask you, if there is no patriarchy, why did you need to become a feminist writer? Because when we study feminism, or when we learn to become a feminist writer, the first question we are said, patriarchy is the beginning and end of all evils in society. So if there is no patriarchy, why did you have to become a feminist writer?
See, the point is that I come from a very small community, caste. It's called Nayars, Menons. They were only practicing matrilineal. But the whole people around in Kerala, Christian, Muslims and other castes also, they were all practicing patriarchy. So I was seeing it every day. That what is happening in those families, and how does the patriarchy actually engage women, and it is almost like trapping a person. So I knew what is happening. And though matrilineal, the head of the family is always the man, the uncle. It goes the uncle, maternal uncle. So for all practical purposes, he leads the house and he has a lot of authority. And the men ruling women was also happening in matrilineal society. So I felt very, very bad, very unfair. The women were treated even in matrilineal system, though they have this sort of ultimate safety net, but the treatment was the same. And so I was very much against, because there was a lot of unjust, unfair practices, especially if it's a feudal family, the atrocities go more. And there is not much check and balance in that. So it is very difficult. So I was, as a girl in the family, though matrilineal, I was facing a lot of restrictions. Oh, mat karo, ye mat karo, idhar mat jao, udhar mat jao, sort of things. As being a female, I was blamed for being a woman, or for being a girl child, as taking birth as a female child, which I thought very unfair. I didn't choose. I didn't choose to be a girl. So why should I be treated like that? And my brother has almost the same interest. I was reading and writing and all. So my brother has all the freedom which I didn't have. I couldn't go out, I couldn't do. And there is even, I was not allowed to go for higher studies because it's the feudal family. They thought that the women do not have to work. You don't have to earn. That's the usual sentence. So that's hereditary property and all. So these all things which really agitated me. I became very furious, and it was brimming in my mind always that no, this is not the way the woman should be treated, for no fault of hers. It is like a religion. See, we are all born to a religion. See, I am a Hindu not because I chose that. It's like any other religion. So why should it be like that? And the women were discriminated even in matrilineal household, especially in this role playing, caregiving, parenting, and the household work, no education. The question is always this: why should you educate a girl? Because she is not going to do a job, she is not going to earn. So why should you spend money on her? So these are the things. So this discrimination, you know very well that it creates a lot of impediment they put blocks in the road towards progress. If you are going to be discriminated on the basis of caste, creed, gender, color, and all, for not fault of theirs. So how do you progress? It is like cutting the wings first and then say that you are not able to fly. It is like that. So every woman, whether matrilineal or patriarchal, matrilineal was a little better, but every woman was facing such a social system. So I was very furious, I was very agitated, I was very upset. And that's all.
Okay. Now that we've understood the social structure within which Manasi ma'am has become a writer, let me go back to the beginning again and ask you, what were the first early influences of writers, literature that you were reading? Who were you reading? Where did you get books? Because today we are living in a very different time when we can just download a book on Kindle or buy it from the nearest bookshop or on Amazon. But in your times, where did you what was the closest place where you could access books, and what kind of literature did you read growing up?
As I said, in family, very, very good literature was read, actually, and my uncle, my maternal uncle, was a founder member of the public library in my village, and we had free access to every book in that library, and everybody was reading, all my uncles, aunts and all. So the books came home. So I got a glimpse of all those books, and by I was completing 10th or 11th, I was even reading the translation of all classics, world classic, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Tagore, and everybody. So it was For me, it was easy. It was a early exposure, and I got every book. And this public library in my village, though it's a very remote village, it contained about more than 10,000 books. So it was easy for me to get books and to get to literature. Yeah.
Within the Indian writing that was happening at that time, who were sort of the writers that you were reading? And
I was reading mainly only Malayalam writers. There was if I quote names, it would make much sense to you. M.T. Vasudevan Nair, Kamala Das, of course, you must be knowing. But Kamala Das was prolifically writing when I was a small kid. So she influenced me. I did not want to imitate her, but she influenced me because she gave me a different angle to look at the relationship and the family as such. And she wrote many things which was boiling in my own mind. So that way, yeah, I was a fan of her. Yeah, Kamala Das. But my mother, her mother was also a great poet, Balamni Amma. And my mother was a fan of hers. My mother is a fan of many poets. So these people, M.T. Vasudevan Nair, who is a Jnanpith Awardee, and they were all I was reading in those days. And Madhavi Kutty gave me a very different outlook to look at the society. And she was very open, very bold, and she never ever cared about what the society will say. Of course, she wrote in the pseudonym as Madhavi Kutty. Her name is Kamala. She wrote Kamala Das in the name of Kamala Das in English. But in Malayalam, she was called as Madhavi Kutty. But her writing brought a very new, different lookout in the literature of Malayalam.
And when did you first start writing? When was that moment you said, okay, now I need to start penning my anger and stories?
See, that I don't know why I started writing. If I can be honest with you, I can say only that I felt like writing. I wrote my story when I was 6th grade. And I wrote a story and posted it without the knowledge of the family. Okay. And naturally it came back. And it came back to my house. And it became a big problem in the house because my mother, father, everybody thought that how come she posted a story without their knowledge, and I was 12 years old. And my mother, the first sentence my mother told her, don't do such pranks anymore. That was the first thing. And she got so annoyed. She was a person who initiated me to literature and encouraged me to read, but she was very, very adamant that I should not write. Now, in that context, I will say, when Madhavi Kutty was writing, Madhavi Kutty had the same feudal background as I had. So she was writing about her family things. A lot of atrocities are happening in a feudal family. Very secret. Nobody will talk about that. So she was also talking and writing about that, and my mother was so scared that I will do the same. And it was a reputed family, reputed quote unquote, reputed family, so they didn't want to risk that the girl is going to write such things like Madhavi Kutty. So my mother was very, very adamant, and when I got published when I was 18, first story was published when I was 18, my mother threw the complimentary copy out of the house, and I was beaten blue. I mean, itna maar mila, and I was locked in a room, and she told me that, please promise that I will not write again. But I told that I will write. I told I will write. So I was locked from out, and then I decided that day a rebel was born. See, being born in a feudal family as a girl is very, very, you will have to face a lot of restrictions. feudal family background is that you are not allowed to go, being a woman, you are not allowed to go here, there alone, and you have a strict scripture that what can you do and what cannot. So then I started writing regularly after that. And my brother was a great support. He was also a writer. He supported me. And when I was 18, he posted my story and I got published. So from there, it was a cold war between me and my family. I was not ready to forsake my writing. For your question again, why did you write? I don't know. Why do I write? To be very honest, I feel like writing. And when I feel like writing, the whole world will not stop me. That is one thing. And it is like, see, when I wrote a story when I was in 6th grade, I knew a lot of more restrictions will happen to me. And I was always wondering to myself that why, in spite of all these things, why do I write? So when I came to Bombay, when I got married, and then I met a psychiatrist, I asked that why did I do that? Because I knew I was going for more and more restrictions, but still I did. So his answer was that it's your mind. If you have a mind like this, you will write. It is a compulsion of the mind. So there is no choice. It's a mind you did not ask for. It was imposed on you. So when the mind tells you to write, you have to. Because it is like an escape. I feel suffocated. It is like drinking water when you are thirsty. I don't know. I have to drink water when I am thirsty, but I do not know why I am thirsty. It is like that. So why I felt like writing, I do not know. And many times it was like in a trance. So if I start writing, I am not very sure that what I am going to write. It evolves. And in the course of time, it changes. The focus change, the language change. After writing the story, many times I have wondered that when did I think all these things? I never thought of all these things when I was in the right senses. And who did this? Who did this? Made this order of my words and the thoughts and all. But I had to write. So that explains, I think, why do I write or why did I write?
So as you began your writing journey, at some point you also moved to Mumbai. And can you tell us a little bit about how did that shape or change your relationship with writing? Because now you were not within the system that you were critiquing or getting upset about, but you moved away. Did it give you more freedom to write? Did it cut you off from literary circles? What does it mean to write in a language when you're not in the same environment where that language is spoken?
It didn't matter much to me. When I came to Bombay, actually the family system is the same. So I did not have much freedom, but fortunately my husband never read any of my story. So what happened was it lessened the friction in the family. He did not know what I was writing. So it is always against the patriarchal values, and it's always against, if you can put that way, anti-male. It's not anti-male actually. It is actually anti-discriminatory. I can say my family after marriage, I was not allowed to work. The same funda that you need not go and work and you don't need to earn sort of things. But writing happened prolifically when I came to Bombay, and I was away from my readership. And in those days, especially in last 70s and 80s, that even the Malayalam magazines were not available here. But I used to write and send it, and mainly my conversation used to have between editors and me. I don't know, readership. Sometime somebody wrote to me that, this story is good and all. But other than seminars, yes, there was a very good acceptance. And that's what, and the Bombay changed my outlook a lot. When I came to Bombay first, it's very suffocating me because it's a very small flat, sharing the space, sharing time, all those things which really I did not want to live in Bombay. But gradually, Bombay tamed me. It gave me a lot of opportunities, exposure, which I could have never got in Kerala, in my family system. And my brother also with me, he took me around. So we went to theatre performances, the rare movies, the Jahangir Art Gallery, all those things I did. So it's a new horizon, and I thank Bombay for that. Actually, whatever I am today, I owe it to Bombay. So it was a great experience, especially from a remote village. It's a shift from a remote village to a mega city. What can it do? And I stopped being judgmental because I got in touch with a lot of different cultures, different thoughts. I met great writers. I met great performing artists. They all spoke. The interaction with them changed my attitude. Now I am not being judgmental. Actually, if you do something in a particular way, I will rather explore the reasons for that. Why do you do that? Instead of blaming first hand. Bombay taught me that.
Lovely. Once I had read a review in a newspaper of some book by a feminist writer, and somewhere the reviewer, which was a man, had said, it's interesting that men write and imagine the world. They write by imagining the world. But women mostly write from experience. But when I was reading your book, and this is a very lovely book, it's a collection of short stories by Mansi ma'am. It's called Subversive Whispers. But while I was reading your book, I also felt that, experience alone is not enough. You really also have to imagine all the ways in which these experiences can play out. So tell us a little bit about this compilation of short stories, which perhaps the readers in the room can also take a look at.
Yeah, I have written a lot of stories about which I have no experience. I've done a story on dance bar. I have never visited a dance bar. So I do not know. But I do not know why many male friends commented that, how come that you are so realistically, so minutely described as a dance bar? I didn't have an answer. Like that, many other instances I have seen that I have written a story on a background about which I did not know. I have written about poor people, which I did not know. I have not undergone poverty. So I don't know what it is. But I have written. And it has become well accepted. So it is not the experience at all. About the Gone with the Wind, actually we say that that particular author about the Gone with the Wind, they have never seen a war. The whole book is about war. So they are not. Or she has not. So it is not only the experience which makes you a writer. It is imagination. And also, it's a process where you cannot explain why you write and how do you write. It's very difficult for me to explain. And that's what I look for very different words. I don't like to use the cliched way of narration. I always look for different formats. And even in this also, that I have used magic realism, surrealistic views, so many things I have. It is not voluntarily. It comes. When you want to communicate a particular subject in a particular way, actually mainly convincing to yourself first. And then, if I read my lines, then I don't feel, no, it's not good. Then I will explore. It is putting the high jump or the rod of the high jump more and more high. You have to surpass that. Because I don't like to write the same sort of story or the same level in another story. So I have to surpass myself. Then only it makes sense to me. So that is a great, how do I say? It's a Herculean job. Writing is like you are catching a slippery prey and putting it in a cage. It's very painful. You won't get it. And I have waited for one word for months together. because I was not happy with that particular word I am getting. So it is difficult to explain how do you write and why do you use. See, I've written that the sky is staring at you, like a sky without any support. So these words were coming to me, not it came to me. That's all I can say. So these are the challenges a writer actually face also. You have to look for a new language, new format, new form of narrations, and so that is that writing a story, and it is not actually the physical space which matters. Whether I write in my remote village, whether I write in Bombay, no, I don't mind. I don't. Maybe the Bombay might have gone into me, like remote village also gone into me, but it comes in a very, very different form when I write. As you say, it all together, something from here, something from there. You cannot even separate that. What you got from here or what you got from there. It's also a totality that you write.
Since we were talking about formats and various forms of writing, tell us a little bit about, working with the short story format, because it only allows you certain space to, outline a story, but it also means you have to be really clever writer to be able to capture all that you want to do in a short story. But also a second question to that is, there's a very interesting book recently that I read about Hindi magazines and how it sort of opened a world of literature for women who did not have access to books otherwise. Because, magazines were delivered at home, and this is the generation of 60s, 70s and 80s, where women could read short stories from all kinds of locations and places and could think about a world beyond their homes. And short stories really was that format that captured women's attention in some sense. So tell me that difference of working with different formats.
Yeah, one thing that in every language in India, women started writing very late. They were not even allowed to. In fact, if I can say, Tarabai Shinde, Marathi, she wrote her book in 1882. And that is the first feminist book written in India. Actually, she challenges the religion, she challenges the social system. She is such a critic of the whole social scenario in 1882. And she was only 4th standard. You must be knowing that she has studied only up to 4th standard. And she still wrote. What did make her write? So like that, you were talking about this short story. I have never written a novel. My attention span is very short, so I can write only short story, articles and poems, of course. Short story is a very powerful format as far as I am concerned. It is like an intravenous injection, directly going to the blood. If it is a novel, then yeah, you can write a novel, definitely about the feminism or as you say, the women started reading because it is like watching serials. Not very popular pulp magazines, because they didn't have a chance to read. So first pulp magazines came, they started reading, and they attracted, they knew for the first time that there is another world. And also, many women, the normal women has asked me that, how come that you know whatever is happening in our mind? Many women has asked me. So I told that our experience is the same, cutting across the levels. It is the same. So it gave a lot of exposure to the normal woman, and they were interested in maybe the pulp magazine level, but they were interested in reading, and that gave a great exposure to them to another world. They knew that there is another world. There can be different persons. If they are allowed to do whatever they wanted to do or they were capable of doing, then they knew that they could be another persons. Actually, what the discrimination does is actually, as I said, the putting blocks on the road towards progress, quote unquote, again. You cannot develop your personality You cannot do anything if you are discriminated. See, if I don't get education, how do I progress? How do I progress? All the male people, I am not talking about that whoever wearing pants and shirts, the male, no, the privileged people. What I am trying to tell you is that the men were in those days the privilege in that sense socially. So they got the education. They could think differently. See, Jyotirao Phule is the first person who established a school for women. It is not accidental. That is exactly what I am trying to say. When you get education, when you are allowed to think, when you are allowed to work, when you are allowed to interact with people of different thoughts, your personality grows. It's a new horizon. It is what the women were asking is only for a bit of sky of their own. They were not allowed to have it. You know that there was an umbrella everywhere, every section of society. You can go up to that. The women's world was inside the house. It is never outside. You are not allowed to. You are not allowed, and you have no role there. That is the main thing. Your role is within the house. So it became two worlds. The men did not know what was happening to the female. Not talking about the physical things, about the mentally. And what the stress and strain is undergone by the male, the women also did not know. The worlds were so different. In both the worlds, no, like in Satyajit films, there's a big corridor. You have seen, it's a metaphor. So there is the kitchen, the woman's world, and the men. You know that the women are not allowed to come out, even in the household. आगे जाके नहीं, कुछ नहीं करने का है तुम, अंदर जाओ ना. That's the usual thing. So that is this sort of writing from the mind of the people. I am not talking about the feminist writing is only written by females. It is always written from the woman's angle of woman's point of view. See, about 50 years back, you think, what was the literature? The literature always explained or did the woman as a object, a sexual object. And what is even Tarabai Shinde in 1882 says that how she is described with beautiful eyes, long hair, with fair color and all those things. And unfortunately in our body the fairness is always attributed to beauty, which is not. We should not. So the point is that the woman was objectified in all literature, cutting across all the languages. And this was one thing which agitated me. I wanted to tell the world that no, we are not the people you, the male or the literature, make us to be. We have a mind, not we other than the body, we have a mind. Actually, one of the Maharashtrian writers told me that I don't know how far it is true. In Maharashtra, there is an idol of woman, a Devi, who does not have head, but only the body. And the male people, the men, go and worship. It tells volumes. It tells volumes about the way the society looks at woman. This is where I totally disagreed, and I wanted to tell the world that this is not a woman is all about. We have a mind, we think, we are capable of thinking, and this, the world, you should know. And the double standards which are faced by the men and women are so deep-rooted, patriarchy, because of the patriarchy, and the whole society did not tell that this did not happen. The double standard did not happen. They never told. They told that whether a woman can say it openly, that was the question. So, telling openly, saying things openly was a forbidden thing for a man. Even now, we can say that What is a good woman? What's a good one? Obedient, who sounds silent, and who worship the husband, or whatever. I'm not talking about even today's generation. Worship the husband or the worship the society rules, patriarchal values. Then, because when you fight patriarchy, you are always in friction with the family and with the society at large. It is not an easy journey. It's a very tough journey, tiring, dragging, and you will lose all the near ones and dear ones, and which create a lot of ill feeling, and you are an outcast in every sense of that word. Practically, you are an outcast. In all the social interactions, you will be rejected because she is supposed to be antisocial. It is because she doesn't respect the social rules. They never think that it is fair or unjust. They don't think. They say it's only, no, she speaks against the societal rules. So it's a fighting patriarchy, fighting deep-rooted social practice is a tough journey, especially for persons, marginalized persons, because he is pitching himself against a system which can outnumber you, which can outpower you. It's not easy. It's a lonely journey. It's a journey of outcast. It is tiring, dragging. But if you have a mind which tells that you should fight, you have no choice. You will continue to fight. Just like I continue to write. Thank you.
You also had received the Sahitya Academy very early in your writing career. Tell us a little bit about that, and what did it do to both your life as a writer, and also did it change the way you looked at literature and your own writing styles and all of that?
Yeah, I was very young when I got my award, Sahitya Academy Award. Actually, I experimented with form, narrations, language, everything. The book was called, it was a collection of short stories. It is called The Bird in the Snow. And it was about 14 stories were there. I in those many stories, I dealt with different themes. I interpreted differently mythology. I rewrote the myths about women. One of my greatest story, one of the most popular story was Shilavati. You know Shilavati. You might have done the good woman. I completely challenged her with absolute sarcasm about the way the Shilavati is portrayed. And there is Devi Mahatmyam. We all say the women are Devis, but treated as slaves. So, you know that. So, actually, I don't think any one of you have to be told about that. You know that. So, those sort of things. And then the tendency of a majority to attack the weaker section, always, that I wrote. And I wrote about Dalits, marginalized people. And so many topics came, and mainly what won the award was because of my language. The language and the narrations, the way I portrayed things. Because there was a lot of sarcasm in that. And there was also a very different form I used. That was why that, how did it change? It did not change my outlook towards literature, because I never wanted to write the literature, the stories in a very cliched form, which is known to the form, which is known to me. No, I wanted to break it. I wanted to create a new form. So that was not the point, but the family's attitude changed a lot. When I won the award, my family looked at me in a different way. And also, it gave me a job offer. That was the greatest thing. Because I wanted to work. I wanted to earn my own money. 4 आना हो बस. ठीक है भाई. But it's mine. So, and that is when the copywriting offer came to me. And I As you can all imagine, it was severely reprimanded. Why should you work? And all the same thing. But I took up the job. But by that time, I have grown up a little bit and I was ready to fight. Even when I was 16, I was ready to fight. But it is much more easy for me to fight, and I took up the job. And that is how. And I got, when the telephone connections were very, very rare, especially in my village, I got a connection. In that, but the whole society started looking at me in a different way. My near and dear ones said that, yeah, she's an award winner. That's a great recognition, of course, in the literary field. But in the family, it helped me a lot. Then there was less resistance for my writing. So that is the way it changed, because I got a job, and getting a job changed my attitude and life completely in Bombay. I started earning my own money. Like I always say that in one of my stories, I said that earning your own money is having your own wings. So whatever is, whatever money or whichever money I have, if it is given by somebody, no, I don't feel like it's my money. It is मेरी मेहनत की कमाई नहीं है वो, इसीलिए. So it gave me a great opportunity to work, and it gave me a great exposure to an ad world which I was completely unfamiliar.
Tell us a little bit more about that, because in some sense advertisements are also a form of storytelling, right? You are telling, you might be selling a brand, but at the end of the day it's communicating a little story to somebody who's viewing it for a minute.
Yeah.
How does a short story writer take her ethos of being a writer into advertising?
See, it was a very different world when I entered the advertising. I did not know anything about it. So when I was given a copy test, I could easily handle it. So immediately I got the job. And they told, and I told that my family is very much against my working. So the society, the copywriter, the ad agency told, you don't have to be here. I was a freelance writer. So don't have to be here. We will give you the script and copy, and you can go and write at the house and then bring it. It gave me a lot of freedom. So then I started working. As she asked me that in advertising, when I started working, it gave me a chance to use my creativity. That was the greatest incentive of the job, because I started using you think differently, and as you say, when you sell a brand, for the first time, I came to know that if the ad has to sell the brand, then they have to subscribe to the general perceptions of the society, which was very much against my ideology. The women were again shown as showpieces, the household people, and also the most irritating was that there is cosmetics. They say that you will become fair. Why should I become fair? Why should I? Somebody put a benchmark that the fairness is beauty. Why should I accept that? No woman need to be fair at all. But the ad agencies have to subscribe to that, because they will say, then only you will get married. Why should you get married? That's another question. Marriage is not a salvation, ultimate salvation. Nahi hota hai. It is your personality which matters most. So why should you get married? If you don't get married, don't get married. But it is easy for me to say, but the brand has to sell. Isn't it? So they have to subscribe to the general perceptions of the society. So it gradually became a cross-section of the societal perceptions. which I was much against. I told you I still remember that I met when I was writing on Fair and Lovely. I'm taking the brand. They say if you use it for 14 days, you'll become fair. What's the proof? I was asking actually the MD that, can I go to the court? Can I make a case if I don't become fair? So he knew me personally. So he knew me, you cannot go to the court. Why I cannot go to the court? Because after 14 days I will become fair. So I have to prove on the first day how fair I was. I don't have a record. Isn't it? So I cannot prove after 14 days I have not become fair. So I will fail. So this is the way the advertising handle. And always there is a fine print under ideal conditions. Okay, so this is the way. But they have no choice. They have to subscribe. And for me, I still continue with advertising because it is very remunerative. If I write a story, I get 2,000 rupees in a regional language in those days. But if I write the bygone kills mosquitoes, I get 5,000 rupees. So I got it. So I was, and as I said before, I was very much in need of a job. So, bad mein gaya ideology, but so I have to work because it gives me money and it's easy for me. I was not finding it very difficult, the creativity part of it, and it was remunerative. So I continued. But I questioned the whole concepts in advertising through my writing. That is the only thing which I could communicate to the world. That was a window through which I communicated to the world. So, and forcefully, I mean, very, very vehemently, I did that. All these things are wrong. You know that there is no word for fairness in Tamil? No, I'm not joking. There is no specific word for fairness in Tamil because they are dark complexioned. Why should I have a word for that? So how the concepts get imposed on us. There is a very hilarious story. There is a soap which advertised that they will make you fair and glowing and all. So I was working and I have wrote that copy. So I got a letter from Madras that, sir, I saw your advertisement and I used 14 soap, I mean 14 cakes of soap, okay, and I have not become fair. So please advise how to use it exactly. See, this is what the advertisement does. This is what the advertisement, this is the way advertisement convince you. All wrong things, but you get convinced. So these are the
But you said something really interesting right now. You said you chose remuneration and ideology gaya. But, that's the question I want to ask you about being a feminist writer. Because very often we are trying to communicate our thoughts, our feelings, where the society and the personal is constantly in conflict. And you have to safeguard your remuneration to feel like a feminist so that you can write like a feminist. So tell me that sort of, and I know I'm being mindful of time, but just sort of to bring us towards the close, what does it feel like to constantly be in that sense of conflict? And also today, my last question for you today, things have changed drastically. Perhaps my life is very different from the life you had in perhaps at the same age. So today, Manasi ji ko gussa kyun aata hai? What is the new feminist, what today when you look around, when you look at other women around you, what do you think about the feminist values that you hold? Has it changed? Has it deepened? Is there a sort of calmness? What has it done?
No, I'm always in conflict. It's very difficult. It is a stressful life because as you said, I have to have the remuneration, but I am writing against it all the time. And even now, our society is absolutely patriarchal. and very deep-rooted concepts have not changed. And the women, instead of sari, wear pants and shirts and jeans and all sorts of things. But their mind has not changed much. Much, I'll say. There is a very small section of women who have come to think that, yeah, we can lead our own life as we like. But majority is not. Even in Kerala, supposedly, quote, unquote, prabuddha. Yeah, but no, it is highly deep-rooted. And that one of the writers say that, one of our great writers say that, yeah, we are all very progressive people, Mansi, the males say that. No, sarcastically, he said, but when we go to our home, we will remove that progressive, like chappals we put in front of the household, no? Chappal nikal ke hi andar jate hain na. Just like that, we remove our progressiveness and go inside and ask that, अरे 10 बजे हो गया, चावल बनाया नहीं क्या, खाना तैयार नहीं है क्या? So very small section has changed, and these feminists also, I mean, who are working and they have to have the remuneration, and they are also fighting the society, the social structure, everything. They are also leading a very, very stressful life because the society has still not accepted them. It is in Kerala, now it is feminici is the word. You know that? Feminist. Instead of feminist, it has been Malayalized. Feminici. Feminici is supposedly a very bad word in Kerala now. So, now I think I have answered your question. So it is in conflict. It is, and at least for another 50 years, I don't think much changes will happen. See, in Tarabai, Shinde wrote in 1882. And how many years now? And we are talking about the same thing. Same thing Tarabai Shinde told. So it's not easy to fight a deep-rooted thing, so deep-rooted that it is especially for the marginalized people, like whether it is Dalit, whether it is women, whether it is another marginal section of people, it is very, very difficult to fight, especially all alone. That is why we need a group. I will always say that the feminism is not anti-male, not at all. It is only, it's a different thought. The conflict is between two different thoughts. One say that women should be traditionally trained and they should be living inside the house and all those things. And there is another thought, no, they should be allowed to grow, they should be allowed to communicate with the world, and they are capable of handling all quote unquote manly jobs. They are capable, but give the opportunity. All the discrimination is against only, the fight is only against discrimination. The fight is only getting good opportunities like any other person. Whether it's transgender, whether it's anybody, each marginalized person should be treated as a person, equal person. So equality in opportunity. None of us can be equal, but only in opportunities. We should be given equal opportunities. So that is one dream we can have, like she will have, like all the marginalized people have, the Dalits will have. So we can come up to, one day we can come up to that level, we think. And again, there are a lot of male people who support feminism. I wanted to underline that. It is not against male, it is not a fight between male or female, it's a fight between two thoughts. So you are on which side decides whether you are a feminist or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Divya and Dr. Manasi. खूप सुंदर असं विवेचन आता आपण ऐकलात, मुलाखत आपण आता ऐकलीत. दिव्या, अतिशय सुंदर असे प्रश्न तू काढलेले होतेस. आणि मानसी मॅम, ताराबाई शिंदे यांचा स्त्री पुरुष तुलना हा जो निबंध आहे त्या काळामध्ये जो गाजलेला, आजही पुन्हा पुन्हा आपण त्याचा उल्लेख केलात. उंबरठा अजूनही आहे आणि पितृसत्ताक पद्धती अजूनही आपल्याकडे आहे, पण त्याच्याही पलीकडे आपल्याला जायचं आहे. वेगवेगळ्या प्रकाराने तुम्ही हा जो सगळा तुमचा प्रवास केला, छोट्या एका खेड्यापासून ते मुंबईतल्या जाहिरातीच्या या एका जाल असलेल्या अशा विश्वापर्यंत, आणि पुन्हा आपल्या लेखनाला तुम्ही जागृत ठेवलं की ते इन्कल्केट झाले, तुमच्यामध्ये प्रतिबिंबित झालेलं आहे. आणि मी का लिहिते, मला लिहावंसं वाटतं म्हणून मी लिहिते, हे अतिशय ठामपणे तुम्ही सांगितलं. तुमचं दोघींचंही मनापासून आम्ही आभार मानतो. अतिशय सुंदर असा मुलाखतीचा संवादाचा कार्यक्रम आता आपण इथे अनुभवलेला आहे. मनापासून धन्यवाद.
I wanted to thank Granthali for giving me a chance to be with you and share my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the August audience also, everyone, I thank you.